Hey gang, Jeff Reinhart here, LMP and Lancaster Online. Welcome into the Week 8 edition of the Huddle, the LL League Football Podcast. Sponsored by Auto House of Lancaster. Pull up a chair. Let's talk Week 8 LL League Pigskin. 3 weeks to go in the regular season. I think we can call this the stretch drive. Monster game on tap in Section 4. Some other juicy matchups here sprinkled throughout. Section races, great. Playoff races really heating up. A lot of LL bubbles who are going to need some wins here down the stretch to get in. Plenty of storylines to go through here in Week 8 at the top of the stretch drive. 18 games. Garden Spot is idle this week. Let me start there. Penn Manor was idle last week. They were going to play Garden Spot on Tuesday of this week for their 10th game each. They ended up canceling that, which probably was a smart move because Penn Manor would have had to turn around 3 days later and play Wilson. So that's not going to happen, but through the grapevine, I have heard that they might play that game in Week 11, depending on scenarios, field availabilities, playoff picture, yada. But Penn Manor is back in action this week. Garden Spot off. No game for Sparty Nation. As of this taping, Comets, Spartans are scheduled for 9 regular season games. We'll see if they get a 10th and play each other in Week 11. Stay tuned. All right, let's break it down. I got a lot going on this week, so I will do my best with notables. Picks, no problem. Got the picks. Green card again this week. Picks for sure. I'll give you what notables spring off the top of my head as we go through Week 8. 2 Thursday games. And they're off Thursday night. Anvil-Cleona at Pequay Valley. How about the Braves? Beat Hamburg last week, 24-17, knock the Hawks off the one line in Section 4. And I wrote this week, and I wasn't kidding. I think that was one of the biggest wins in the history of Pequay Valley's football program. I think they've only had one winning season, that they won 6. They've had several 5-win seasons, mostly in the 1 to 4 win season with some offers mixed in there. But for Pequay Valley, that late in the season to beat a first place team, that's pretty cool. So tip of the cap to the Braves. They are having a fun season in Kinzers. They get an Anvil team that's sneakily humming along. They've won 2 in a row, got the ground game going. And they've been playing pretty well. So tricky test for the Braves here. Like what Anvil does, running the ball. And I think they might have just a couple of too many bigger dudes up front, including Jonathan Shea, who's just amazing and having a first-team all-star season. I'll see you Thursday night in Kinzers. I'll be there. I'm going to go Dutchman over Braves for pick purposes. Other game Thursday night, Berks Catholic at Columbia. Berks Catholic survived last week. Kutztown going for the upset special. Went for 2 at the end of the game. Went for 2 and the win with 36 seconds left. Didn't get in. Berks Catholic stops them at the wire on the 1-inch line, basically. And the Saints win. And they needed that because they're on the outside looking in at districts. I think they'll probably have a shot at that Eastern Conference playoff game, perhaps. Berks Catholic needs to finish fast. Columbia continues to struggle here. They ran into Schuylkill Valley last week, which is really scorching. Columbia did punch in a touchdown, but they're last in the league in total offense. And they've given up over 2,000 rushing yards. So tall task here for the Tide at home. Berks needing wins for postseason, plus Rose and Gumby, who've been really good running the ball. So let's go Saints over Tide to cap off the Thursday slate. Friday games, Section 1. Cedar Crest at McCaskey Falcons. Humming right along here. A couple of losses, yes, but they're in good shape for districts. Start the week at number 7 in a 10-team bracket. So Cedar Crest just needs to take care of its business. Still have the Cedar Bowl coming up against Lebanon. They get the Tornado here. Coming off a loss, but Cintron had a big game last week. Passed for 270 plus and a couple of touchdowns. So McCaskey's done some damage through the air, but I have Crest circled here. A grass game, a road game for the Falcons, I know. But they forced 22 turnovers, and they have like double-digit interceptions. So they've been opportunistic, like their playmakers. Let's go Cedar Crest. Falcons over Tornado. Manheim Township at Reading. Good win last week for Reading. Beat McCaskey. Case and Fritz, the quarterback, for the second time this season, 100 pass, 100 rush. And he's going 100 pass, 100 rush in both of their wins. Battle of the Border Trophy game against Muhlenberg and a win over McCaskey last week. So Township's got to keep an eye on Reading's quarterback. He's a dual threat kid. Township, I thought took a punch from Crest last week. They didn't blow their doors off. It wasn't, 56-7, 38-14. So Township gave up a couple of scores, but in the end did what Township does. Good balance. Weiser had another good game up top. Clancy rushed for 240. And the streaks kept on keeping on. They go for 18 straight regular season wins here, and I like them a lot. Let's go Township over Reading. Last Section 1 game, Wilson at Penn Manor. Comets back on the field. Your LL football stat of the week. Bulldogs are 32-0 all-time against Penn Manor, dating back to 1975. 32-0. Yikes. Bulldogs here, playing well. They're not going to get caught looking ahead. Trip to Township coming up in week 10. Wilson over Penn Manor. Section 2 games. Conestoga Valley at E-Town. That's about as old school Section 2 as you get. Longtime Section 2 rivals. They've kind of gone their separate ways over the years. CB went to Section 1. E-Town went to Section 3. They're back now in Section 2. Bears feeling good. Back-to-back wins. Prince Ratto. Clubhouse leader for LL Name of the Year, maybe? Prince Ratto. Back-to-back 100-yard games. He's over 250 plus on the ground with a couple of touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. Bears beat Lebanon last week. They've been running the ball well. Saw the Bucks last week. Great game against Governor Mifflin. Oh, my. Mifflin played great, played keep away, had a 99-yard drive that spanned the third and fourth quarters, scored off of it. Tie game late, CV scores, and Isaiah Sensenig gets a late fumble recovery when Mifflin was driving again, and the Bucks won to go to 7-0. They haven't been 7-0 in decades. It's been a while. Got the Bucks circled here. I know they go on the road, but they're focused. They know they have Exeter at Exeter next week. We'll see if Jaden Johnson gets back this week for CV. I have a feeling he will play. He warmed up against Mifflin, but then changed into street clothes. Let's see if he gets back on the field here. CV's going to need him here down the stretch with playoffs coming and the Exeter game next week. For now, Bucks over Bears. Ephrata Muhlenberg. This game is supposed to be played at Muhlenberg. They're having a heck of a time with their stadium. Mike Drago's been all over this on his site. Muhlenberg played their opener in their spiffy new stadium, but it turns out there was a problem with the new turf, and they had to shut it down, and they need to go back in and fix the turf. So Muhlenberg's kind of been on the road here, playing either close to home or just flip-flopping with teams and playing at their place, and they'll flip back next year to get the home games. That's happening here. They'll get Ephrata at the War on Friday night. Ephrata, great game with Cocalico last week. Review Cup, kind of put that one in the spotlight. Cocalico won 10-7, eked one out. So tough L for Ephrata. Braden Brown played well, 76-yard touchdown run, so they got a little O going, but Cocalico wins at the end of the day. Muhlenberg, Cameron Small, really? 346 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns last week against Exeter. Mules did some things against the Eagles, scored 28 points. Exeter scored 56-1, but Muhlenberg I thought made a bit of a statement there because Exeter hadn't given up anything. And the Mules punched in 4 touchdowns, 3 by Small, 1,300 yards plus rushing now, number 1 in the league, 17 touchdown runs, number 1 in the league, and a 346-yard effort last week. Wow. I have Ephrata circled. I like what they do defensively, held Cocalico to a touchdown and a field goal. Ephrata seems kind of due to win one here. I know they beat Central earlier in the year for a statement program win. Got to stop Small. Do so, and they can win here. I have the Mount circled. Ephrata over Muhlenberg. Lebanon at Governor Mifflin saw the Mustangs. That game lived up to the hype. I wanted to go because I knew that was going to be a trench game, beat 'em up, physical. Grady Garner rushed for 178, and Mifflin really hung with CV in the trenches. Had a late turnover that CV scooped up and won, but I thought Mifflin showed a lot in that game. Lebanon looking to avoid 40 losses in a row. I was hoping it would not get to that 4 number. But they need to pull one off here on the road against a really good Mustangs team to avoid 40. I have Mifflin circled. They need to win to get in. There are a couple of spots out in 6A. Must-win time for Mifflin. Mustangs over Cedars. Section 3, got this one circled for sure. Solanco at Cocalico. We were at Solanco this week for the video show. Look for that later this week. Some fun interviews with some Solanco kids. Big win for them last week. They beat Mannheim Central for just the 6th time, I think, ever, dating back into the 50s. So big win for them. 33 points, got a bunch of yards on the ground. Wanted to talk to one of their O-line guys. And we talked to Johnny Garcia, who's their fullback. Love this matchup. Flexbone against Flexbone. Couple of triple option teams going at it. Cocalico tied for first with Weiser, going for their 5th win in a row, and they're at home. I have Cocalico circled. I looked at this one for an hour and a half, sideways, up, down, back and forth. Circled the Eagles. Good D. Held effort at a 7, shut out, Garden Spot. They have to stop Solanco's Flexbone. Conversely, Solanco has to stop Cocalico's Flexbone, and Solanco's been in a lot of these kind of shootout games that didn't turn out exactly great for them in the end. So Cocalico circled. Let's go Eagles over Mules. I will see you Friday night in Denver for that game. Looking forward to it. Warwick at Conrad Weiser. Scouts, undefeated, 7-0 for the first time since 2011. Gave up some stuff to Solanco last week. Solanco ran the ball, got some yards, but Weiser pulled that one out. Donovan Gingrich has been great. 11 touchdowns against 1 pick. He'll go over 1,000 yards passing this week. Evan Riddle, the wideout, leads the league in catches, receiving yards, and touchdown catches. That's pretty good. They get a Warwick team that has played good D, coming off a win over Fleetwood. Had a coach tell me recently that Warwick's speed off the edge is like the best they've seen this year. Like their DNs and their outside backers swarm, ball hawk, collapse, and tackle. Warwick's going to need to do that this game. They're still safe for a district spot. They're still in this race. They can make a mess of the race with the win, but I have Weiser circled. I'm going with all the 7-0s this week. Not ready for any upset specials yet. Scouts over Warriors. That should be a good game. Last Section 3 game. Mannheim Central at Fleetwood. This didn't hit me until I studied the computer screen in front of me. Barons and Tigers are both 0-3 in the section. And the loser here is in the basement. Which kind of just took me aback because it's just so odd seeing the Barons here in this spot. They've lost 3 in a row. Their offense is towards the bottom of the league. And they're just looking for consistency. These words are so weird coming out of my mouth about Mannheim Central, I know. And they get a Fleetwood team for the first time ever, by the way. Central's played 850-plus varsity tackle football games. This is the first time Barons and Tigers will play a game of football. How about that? Fleetwood, the McMonigal kids, 700-plus passing yards in 3 weeks. They really found it up top. Dominic had a 97-yard touchdown catch last week against Fleetwood. But both teams here are trying to avoid the basement. I have Mannheim Central circled. I have not picked the Barons in a couple of weeks. I picked them to win the section in August, and sorry, Fleetwood faithful, I picked the Tigers at the bottom of the section. So for a week, I'm stepping back into my August picks. I'm going to go Barons here. I think they find a way. I know they had an injury last week. We'll see if their linebacker, running back kid gets back. Knock on glass. Barons here. Central over Fleetwood. Section 4, Donegal at Daniel Boone. You probably read all about it this week. Donegal did not come back out for the second half last week against Twin Valley. Raiders led 49-0 at halftime. Donegal's got injuries all over the place. I don't even want to spit out a number, but it's a lot more than one or two kids. It's a bunch, and they've been minus starters for the last several weeks. And Coach Sodasante at halftime said, "We're done. I'm not going to put my kids in jeopardy. I know it's a mercy rule and basically a JV game, but we cannot afford to have any more injuries. We're getting on the bus and getting out of here." It happened. Moving on. They're at Daniel Boone. Blazers still throwing the heck out of the ball. Hayden Moyer's been good. They shifted him from quarterback to wideout last Saturday against YO. Spartans had a pretty big lead. And I think they just wanted to get Moyer out of there so he didn't get hurt. They put him at wideout, and he ended up catching a touchdown, which is pretty cool. I have Daniel Boone circled. I know they're over, and they've lost 14 in a row, dating back to last season. Boone at home. So many injuries for Donegal, and I don't know who they're getting back. And if they get kids back, are they even 100%? I don't know. Could the Indians jam one in my face here and win? Sure. Boone's been close. They've had some close calls, and they're at home against an injured pack of Indians. So let's go Blazers. Boone over Donegal. LS at Elko, old school matchup. These guys were in the same section for years. LS beat Elko in the 2020 district final. You remember? Elko has some wins. Stephen Rosado had a big game last week against Octorara, rushed for 125 and a couple of touchdowns, but LS has been really good. Saw them last Thursday, put up 56 on Northern Lebanon. Balanced. House has just been so steady behind center. Brown had a big game last week, pick 6 and some touchdown runs. I like LS here. They're 7-0, and they know that they have Twin Valley and Wyomissing coming up in the next 2 weeks. Trap game alert. But I'll go Pioneers over Raiders. Northern Lebanon at Octorara. Got to see the Vikings last week. They're a scrappy, pesky bunch. They haven't done a whole lot on offense. They've been good in special teams. Ran into a really good LS team last Thursday night. Obviously, they played 3 quarterbacks, which I thought was interesting, but it was a mercy rule game. So Coach Rice was kind of shifting some kids around and giving some kids some snaps, which is nice. They get an Octorara team that kind of hit a really tough, meaty part of their schedule, and they're coming out on the other end of that. Again, they've been forcing turnovers all over. I think they have 13 fumble recoveries, which is a really cool number. And I think this is 6-0 Braves in the series. So I have Octorara circled. Home game at Glen. And Octorara is bubble-ish for districts, so they need dubs. I think they get one here. Octorara over Northern Lebanon. Berks County game of the year, at least for this week. Wyomissing at Twin Valley. Oh my. I could spend the whole time just on this game probably. Twin Valley, number 1 in the state in 4A. YO, number 4 in the state in 4A. They're both ranked in the top 3 or 4 in the district power ratings. Twin Valley's number 1 in the league in defense. They're giving up 104 yards a game. 104. That's really good. Scored the most points in the league, averaging a tick under 400 yards a game. They've given up the fewest rushing yards in the league. And YO likes to run the ball, so that's a very interesting matchup. YO is number 2 in the league in total defense. So you got the 2 best defensive teams in the league squaring off. 2 teams that both are powerhouse offenses squaring off. Unbelievable game. Go early because the line's going to be around the block for this. I have Twin Valley circled, much like that Manheim Central pick. I kind of went back and looked at my picks from August. I picked Twin Valley to win the section. So I'm sticking with the Raiders this week. Should be fun. Go crazy, Elverson. Plan accordingly for the traffic jams. TV over YO. Oh, wow. Section 5, just two games because the other two are Thursday nights. Schuylkill Valley at Hamburg. Frost Bowl trophy game in Hamburg. 24-24-1 all time in this series. Tied. It'll be snapped Friday. Lost some luster. Hamburg, who I saw the week before, beat Lancaster Catholic. I thought, all right, these Hawks are pretty good. They got beat by Pequot Valley, got knocked off the one line. So they're looking to snap back here, and they got to snap back in a hurry because they got the first place Panthers in a trophy game, needing wins here for the district picture. Schuylkill Valley, Logan Narwaki, 235 and 5 touchdowns last week against Columbia. He's now the program's all-time leading passer, 3,900 plus passing yards. I think he needs 89 yards through the air in this game to join the 4,000 club, which is pretty cool. That's a good number. I have Schuylkill Valley circled. Again, I picked them to win the section. They have the Mo. I know they got to go on the road, but it's a trophy game against a backyard rival with first place and all kinds of implications swirling. Panthers over Hawks. Lancaster Catholic at Kutztown. Lancaster Catholic bounced back nicely last week, put up 49 on Anvil Cleona. Brandon Way rushed for 185 and a couple of touchdowns. David Stefanow, the quarterback, threw for 100, rushed for 100, accounted for 4 touchdowns. So Catholic got back on track. They look pretty safe for District 3 2A. I think they're number 2 going into the week in a 4-team bracket. They got it back, and they know that they got to stay on track here because they have Schuylkill Valley in week 10, and who knows what's going to happen in 8 and 9. Wink, wink. Kutztown went for 2 in the win last week against Berks Catholic. Came up short. I got Catholic circled here on the road. I know they've won both meetings with Kutztown here since the Cougars came into the LL, and Catholic has a lot of firepower. Lancaster Catholic over Kutztown. Last game Friday night. It's the non-leaguer. 6A Hempfield at 5A Exeter. Interesting. And this has been a big game the last couple of previous years. Were they both undefeated the one year, maybe going into that game? If I recall, I don't remember. Not the same scenario this year, but Hempfield, even at 3-4, is still inside the bubble for 6A. And Exeter 7-0 and playing great. I know they gave up some stuff last week to Muhlenberg, but Jaden Zandier almost matched Small last week. He rushed for 317 and 4 touchdowns. He's at 15 yards a carry and over 1,000 yards. And Exeter, again, much like Twin Valley, they're top 2 or 3 or 4 in everything across the board. They've been really good. Have the Eagles circled, like them at home. They get CV next week in a could be first place game in Rifton. Can't get caught looking ahead here. Exeter over Hempfield. Week 8 winners. Thursday night, I got Anvil Cleona and Berks. I'll take the road teams. Friday night, Cedar Crest Township Wilson. Taking the road teams in Section 1. Conestoga Valley, Ephrata, Mifflin, Cocalico, Weiser, Barons, Daniel Boone, LS, Octorara, Twin Valley, Schuylkill Valley, Lancaster Catholic, and Exeter. Oh, should be a fun week. Enjoy YO Twin Valley. That's going to be nutty. And some other really good games. Thursday night, I will see you in Kinzers for Anvil Pequay. Friday night, I will see you in Denver for Solanco. Cocalico, coverage all weekend, photo galleries, game stories, stats, helmet stickers, the usual. Stay tuned for all of that. Garden Spot, enjoy your week off. That'll do it for week 8. LL League Football Huddle podcast, sponsored by Auto House of Lancaster. Thank you for tuning in. I'll talk to you next week. Enjoy the games. See ya.